I know a lot of good-hearted liberal types who, really just want to be kind and compassionate and make sure that they are really are on the right side of history. So especially when it comes to the transgender and non-binary world, they basically are like, hey, whatever they want is good and progress and healthy, and we don't want to interfere with whatever is authentic to people's lives, and it's or life-saving healthcare. So we're all on board with whatever they want to do, and good. And I think a lot of those people don't know what it's really like over in gender world. I don't think they've taken a really close look or kind of have any inkling of sort of what the younger generations are spreading around with each other and what they're up to. So I just picked kind of a random topic for the day that comes across my world because of the various, Instagram feeds, TikToks, podcasts, various things that I watch and listen to and see, and friends I know and people I talk to. And that's the nipple-free world. I know if the average person who hears that will think the freeing the nipple world, but we're talking about people who want to be free of nipples. There is a growing movement. It's not a movement. I don't know what to call it, but there more and more people are opting to get no nipples when they get some kind of top surgery. Whether that is it's because it's not just people who are doing breast removal. Some people will do double mastectomies in order to have a more masculine chest or a less feminine chest, as in some cases. But there are also people who are breast cancer survivors who opt to go no nipple. Sometimes they don't do breast reconstruction surgery, they just stay flat, and some of those people go no nipple as well. So can't just pin this on the gender world even. It's just an interesting dynamic that's going on in the body modification world. First off, I just want to show you a couple of videos of people who have opted for no nipples, just so you get kind of an idea of what we're talking about here.
You want to know one of the weirdest things about top surgery? My nipple is so itchy right now. I don't have nipples.
Like, it's itchy here, not here, out from the body.
How do I deal with it? I stand in front of a mirror with my shirt off and I scratch the area and kind of turn to the side to show my brain that there's nothing there, which is the same thing that amputees do to deal with phantom limb.
I'm just following my physiotherapist's advice on that one, but it is the only thing that works. And if I don't do it, it will stay itchy for up to half an hour and make me feel unhinged. Happy Halloween. I have ghost nipples.
Now, I think it is easy to dismiss this as completely crazy, but let's put some more nuance into that. When you get top surgery, when you get your breast removed like this, you can opt to get your nipples reattached, grafted back onto you, or not. Now, it is more expensive to get nipple reconstruction surgery. It's kind of like something you can just leave off. It's one of those things where, like, if you buy a car, you might not realize it, but they can just go ahead and leave out the AC if you want to save some money. And I know some people have told me that when they went in for their top surgery, the doctor asked them last minute, oh, hey, we doing nipples, no nipples? You want something else? Because some people will get differently shaped nipples. The only one I've actually heard of people doing is heart-shaped nipples, but I imagine that's more expensive. So the other thing is, if you do the nipple reconstruction, if you graft them back on, the graft might not take, they could get infected. And sometimes these surgeons kind of suck at their jobs and they're putting nipples they're a little asymmetrical. Or maybe the doctor's like, fucking everybody else has asymmetrical nipples, why should you be any different? Don't you want to look authentic? So yours are going to be scatterwompish just like mine. I don't know what's going on. I mean, it is true that a lot of these doctors probably can't have had that much practice doing all these. I mean, it's gotten much more popular, but there have to be the first 10,000 hours of nipple reassignment surgery for each doctor at some point. So, surgeries are risky in that way. So maybe it kind of makes sense. I think a lot of these people also just kind of played with Ken dolls a lot as kids, and maybe that's where some of this is coming from. I know I did. That's my first thought when I see the no nipple people. I'm like, oh, it's my Ken doll. No dick, no nipples. I know that situation. And my Ken doll was probably the first real embodiment of like, oh, am I attracted to these kind of things or do I want to look like this kind of thing? So I could see a bunch of tomboy to nipple free pipeline. I could see some kind of through line there, I guess. Kind of makes sense to me. And I think there's something to my amateur psychologist kind of mind. I think that the young people especially, like, they're not comfortable with the messiness of human life. And so you'll see they'll talk about, oh, I just want it to be completely flat. I don't want any protrusion.
I wanted my chest completely flat, meaning not even little bumps from nipples.
And I just want it to be like streamlined. And some people have even gotten rid of their belly buttons. Which that one, so if it were just people saying, you know what, I'm not paying the extra for the nipples, you might fuck it up. I already know I'm probably not going to have much sensation in them anyway sexually, and maybe it was dysphoric in the first place for me to ever have sensation or whatever. I could see some people, you know, it's like, all right, not getting nipples. But then there's people who are just straight up opting to get rid of their belly button. So there's something going on. It kind of reminds me of this woman that I met in Big Bend State Park, where me and my friends were on acid and we were like wading in the water, and all of a sudden there were just these naked people who hadn't been there before. And so we were having a very cool, like, what situation. But it was these 3 people who were all nudists, and 2 of them not only had no clothes but had no hair at all, no pubes and no eyebrows even. And this one woman of the group who, you know, and these people were all very, very tan, you know, they're nudists, and we're here in Big Bend, it's, you know, 100 degrees every day, or it's like sunny all the time. Well, this woman with the no eyebrows just kept saying she just hates tan lines. She's like, no, I just no lines, no, I can't have tan lines. So it's like, right, so not only do you need to be completely nude, but you also need to get rid of all your hair. Because then if you had any hair, then some of the sunlight wouldn't get through as much. It would be dappled at the very least. So there's something interesting about that. Like some minds really get very sort of OCD about some things. But then also for these younger generations in particular, there's something about like wanting to have this youth, right? We're obsessed with not going through puberty, and we want to be young, we want to be cared for. Life is dangerous and unsafe and scary. There seems to be kind of this thing in the younger generations where I could see them kind of like not wanting to have, like I said, either the messiness or the adultness, any markers of like, I just want to be a smooth baby, I want to be a smooth, no lines, just. But maybe I'm too deep on the armchair on that one. And if it's true, whatever, it takes all kinds. You know, it's fun to me that some people are doing this crazy shit. It's fun to me that people are making themselves into human Ken dolls. You know, I don't have any kids, so I don't have to have that parent worry of like, what kind of freak shit is my kid gonna do that I then have to celebrate, because we do want our kids to be who they are. And maybe some people really are meant to, like, in some kind of God has a plan for everything happens for a reason, we're all having fun here on this earth, you be you kind of way. You know, cool, some people should do that. Some people should do all kinds of things to their body modification. I don't know how many of these people have gotten other people to donate to their GoFundMe for it. You know, I think a lot of this body modification stuff, you should pay for it yourself. I don't think it's a very legitimate thing to be asking your community to all chip in their scarce resources to help you do something that's cosmetic. I mean, I would love to get top surgery. I would love to, like, if I could afford it and like then I would try to find a doctor a surgeon that I could really trust, if possible, to make me like much more androgynous boobs. So that's why I would like, you know, I have a vision for the nipples and the fat placement, whatever, you know. But I would never ask my community to pay for that if for no other reason than it's kind of like, well, I don't want to ruin it in case I ever like get cancer or whatever. I want to ask my community for that. And it's how I think of it. I'm like, it could be life-saving if it's life-saving for you to get cosmetic surgery. I'm like, well, there's so many actually like directly life-saving things that I can barely afford to help my friends pay for and people in my community. So it's something that's so like indirectly potentially life-saving. It's also like if you're so weak that you need your community to pay for you to get cosmetic surgery in order for you to feel more like the sex that you feel you embody on some internal level. No. But if you pay for it yourself, great. And the other, one of the other dynamics that's going on for a lot of these people is that they don't want to, because I know there's a surgery that you can do that's called keyhole surgery, where they go in through the nipple and like suck out the fat and stuff, so it's much less invasive. You don't get those scars. But a lot of people are opting to get the old school surgery because they specifically want the trans scars, because that way they'll always be visibly trans, which is some merch that I always meant to make when I was still doing my gender fluids podcast. Was we wanted to make sure that we're visibly trans, because it's fun. Cause it's like if passing doesn't matter or whatever, it's like fun. If you want to be visibly, that should be something you should be able to be proud about. My co-host was a trans chick, by the way, so it wasn't just anyway. Okay, so if you have no nipples, you are very visibly not a cisgender man, much less these scars. Really, because the scars, you actually could be a cisgender man, because there are some dudes with the thing where they grow like B cups or something, like not even just fat dudes, but sometimes there'll be dudes who just have some kind of disorder thing where they grow boobs. Heard a comedian talk about it. It was so funny. I wish I knew his name. If anyone knows a comedian who has a bit about getting top surgery, then holler at me, because I know I met him at Altercation Festival in Austin a year or so ago. So even men, like cis men, might have those scars if they got that boob reduction surgery that men get sometimes. Cis, birth registered males get sometimes. So if you really want to show people that you're definitely not even possibly cisgender as a man, then you should go ahead and opt for no nipples. Or maybe, I say the heart ones, that doesn't seem very trans-masculine to me, so maybe like dinosaurs, little trucks, or little truck nut, like nuts, like truck nut nipples. That way it's very masculine. That way it's very masculine whatever you get here. But yeah, there are people who are opting for that, and I think, and sometimes they'll say it specifically, like, hey, I don't want anyone confusing me with one of the bad guys. I am one of the oppressed, not one of the privileged, not one of the oppressors, so I don't want anybody to have any confusion about that. So I went ahead and said, no nipples for me.
This boy just got top surgery, and he's sitting there boobless. I'm sitting here boobless. And I want to tell you about the journey so far. He goes under for surgery. Hours later, they bring me. They say, he's ready. He can see you. I go to the recovery room, and his surgeon is crouched over him. And there's blood just pouring out of his scars. It's disgusting. And they say, we have to take him back in. And I'm like, okay. His right boob wasn't going out without a fight. A blood vessel popped. There was blood everywhere. They had to put him back under and fix it up. Unfortunately, we lost his armpit hair in the process. Only his right armpit. The other one did not get shaved.
So some of these videos weird me out in various ways. Like these people that we just saw, something kind of horrific has just happened with their surgery. It's like, and there was blood everywhere. The doctors thought it was okay, then all of a sudden it wasn't, and we had to have another surgery, and there was blood everywhere, and they're saying it with such trans joy in their voices, and it's just this like, yeah. And I mean, if you watch that person's other videos, you do see they're kind of always like that, and they're very like, I'm autistic and this is how I am. But still, there's something very eerie to me about making a video where your loved one is lying there and you're like, we're a couple of boys. By the way, not men, interestingly, but I guess they have that in common with Dylan Mulvaney, right? Dylan's a girl, these are boys. I agree. I always teased my ex-boyfriend, my trans ex-boyfriend, who I was like, always calling him a trans boy. He's like, oh man. I'm like, well, you're 5'2". So, sorry. There are short men. It's just like, man, I wish people could cross racially identify for these trans dudes' sakes, because if these European heritage 5'2" trans men could identify as like Thai or Mexican or something, whatever, some of the Asian and Central American people who are shorter, you know, if they could identify as one of those ethnicities, then maybe they could pass as men a little better. But when you're visibly white or black or Middle Eastern or something, then it's pretty hard to be taken seriously as a man if you're 5'2". But if you want to hear a joke about that, you can go watch my special, Ellen DeGenderless. Just search for that on YouTube. Okay. But yeah, so it creeps me out that these guys are like, yeah. When, you know, the one guy who just had the surgery is like, yeah, it was fucked up. And then the other guy's like, I'm a boy with no boobs, he's a boy with no boobs, and it was horrible, and it was scary, yeah. I'm like, all right, well, I don't know, you know, there's so much of like cultish vibes in that part of the gender world. I think it's just partly this is the nature of like social media and young people like forming their own strange communities online. Like it winds up becoming very cult-like. And you know, when I use the word cult, I use it pretty loosely because there's so much that is cult-like. You know, I was raised Mormon and everyone always called us a cult. And I was always like, we're not a cult. As an adult, I'm like, because it didn't feel like a cult. And I guess maybe it never does. But I think as an adult, I'm just like, you know, there's a lot of stuff that's very cult-like. Whether things should officially, technically be called cults or not, always, I think there's a pretty fuzzy situation on that. But I think a lot of dynamics can be very cult-like. Even a lot of people's relationships, a lot of people's two people, I mean, the polyamory ones definitely, there can be it can lead to cult-like situations. But even people's monogamous duos, can be very cult-like, where one person sort of is a cult leader who is dictating the worldview and eating and language and whatever of the other person. It can be very cult-like. I think there's kind of a cult-likeness to a lot of human social arrangements. So I don't even mean it to be like, the trans is a cult! It's like, there's a lot of cult-like patterning in a lot, okay? That's also true in certain political groupings. They can be very cult-like. So not trying to throw stones particularly at the wild world of gender people, but, you know, we have a pretty disordered society and world in general.
I see is two women who look more like Frankenstein, like mutilation.
In that video, that person is talking about me and my partner sharing our experiences with top surgery. And I'm reaching out to that person and every person that calls trans men and people that have had top surgery mutilations, disgusting, Frankenstein. Apologize to women who've had breast cancer. Apologize to women who've had to have this done for breast cancer. Because what you're doing is calling breast cancer survivors mutilations, disgusting, Frankenstein's monster. Apologize.
Okay, this is an interesting one because at first I thought, you know, as weird as this whole thing is, and as much as these people do kind of look Frankenstein-like and kind of grotesque and whatnot to most of our eyes, because, you know, they're opting to have thick scars and remove their healthy breast tissue. Still, probably not the nicest thing in the world to say it that way. And, you know, but my girlfriend also pointed out to me, like, you can hear in this person's voice that English is not their first language. And so the woman at the beginning, the lesbian at the beginning, it's, you know, you can see that it's not her first language. And so maybe we should be a little forgiving about her choice of words. But at the same time, I think calling something a mutilation, it is a little different, maybe quite different, if you're opting to do something. Like if someone has cancer and they have to remove their breasts and then they have scars, they don't opt to have breast reconstruction for a variety of reasons, and they have scars and they look that way, then yeah, no one would call them Frankenstein-like or say they've been mutilated. But if someone has perfectly healthy breast tissue and opts to remove it because they identify as a little nipple-free boy, then that's when it starts to make more sense to say that you were mutilated because you chose to do that. So it's that Hippocratic oath even thing of doing no harm, right? So we used to say we wouldn't remove healthy breast tissue, but now the cost benefit analysis of let's get rid of your cancer versus let's remove breast tissue is this is not healthy breast tissue. So we need to remove that in order to save your life. But when we say we're going to take completely healthy breast tissue and remove it because you have an aesthetic desire for yourself, it starts to get into a little bit of that territory where, you know, there are these medical cases every now and then where someone says that they really want to cut off their arm. It's just an obsession that they have, that they want to cut off their arm. And, you know, we're really like, hey, let's do some therapy about that. And now we have this this thing that's very normalized because it's like, oh, you have a gender identity, even though that gender identity could be an infinite number of things. It's still totally valid. It's still very real, much more real than anything else that you could possibly know about yourself or anyone could know about you. And so let's go ahead and give you whatever surgery you want. I mean, I think that it's convenient that people get to make money off that. So it's like, we'll just, you know, do our moral math, whatever's the convenient way for our capitalist society. So that's why it's like you call it a mutilation if you take healthy stuff and you just remove it. That makes much more sense. Again, not even her first language, so maybe there could have been a different word besides mutilation, but I also think it's a pretty valid word, and it's kind of strange. It would be like if someone had gangrene. I don't know if that still happens. This is like a Oregon Trail thing. Anyway, if someone had gangrene and you had to cut their leg off in order to save their life, then someone else had that mental disorder where they wanted to cut their leg off because they just were obsessed with it, and they cut their leg off. If someone pointed at them and said, wow, you mutilated yourself, oh no, and then that person hopped over and said, hey, would you say that my friend with gangrene was mutilated? No. So apologize to my friend with gangrene, because if you say that I mutilated myself, then my friend with gangrene also has been mutilated. Like, that's actually pretty shitty. It's actually pretty shitty to say, like, to take that on yourself about breast cancer survivors. Like, you can't, if a breast cancer survivor came on and said that, I'm like, all right, I think you're misunderstanding things a little bit, but like, thank you. That's very compassionate of you to try to say, hey, have compassion for these little nipple-free boys. But if a little nipple-free boy says it, you know, you just amputated your own foot. Okay, I know, like, in some people's worldview, that's life-saving care, but I just don't believe for most of these people that they were going to kill themselves if they didn't remove their breast tissue, and especially if they didn't remove their breast tissue and have a completely unnatural look of scars and no nipples. Like, I don't think it's life-saving care. At best, I think it's a cosmetic desire that they develop for various reasons in our current social world.
A surgery, they took my guts out, I was awake. Try to stop me. I'm gonna achieve all my goals.
I know she's talking about childbirth, but I had a similar feeling coming out of top surgery, and not just for gender reasons, okay? It absolutely makes sense that your tolerance for bullshit would go down once you realize you can survive being torn up and put back together like a goddamn Raggedy Ann doll. They chopped off the front of me. My scars are over a foot long on either side. I can handle the grocery store most of the time.
All right, so in a similar vein, we have this woman, or this, I don't know how they identify actually. I mean, I guess I assume there's some kind of non-binary thing going on. I haven't really looked, but you know, it's one of these people, and they, you know, are kind of comparing themselves to someone who gave birth, and they do admit that it's, you know, not a fair comparison exactly, but I'm not even upset with them for making that comparison. I just want to kind of point to something that I think I was just listening to a podcast where some psychologists and an evolutionary biologist were discussing this, that maybe kids these days, a lot of them are being really like coddled, pretty famously coddled. so they're not having enough adversity in life, and so it's like maybe they're kind of creating it in various ways. And a lot of people are not living a very embodied existence. They're very online and not having a lot of like really intense, interesting real world thing. They're not playing sports. They're not, obviously not going off to war or whatever might have happened in the past, but just a less intense, less demanding, less risky, less physical childhood, adolescence, young adulthood. And so maybe some of this surgery stuff winds up functioning as something to go through, something to put themselves through, something to challenge them, like a queer rite of passage. Like, this is what the queer lifestyle, world, community, tribe people, the queer people, have that as the rite of passage, that these various forms of medical intervention. And so yeah, this top surgery thing at this point is this rite of passage. You can see it functioning for this young person here, where they're going, man, like, I didn't think I could do anything before this. I really was full of anxiety and self-doubt, and then I had this crazy surgery, and now I can almost go to the grocery store. And that brings me to my other point about all this, and it's the same point I'm probably going to be making about a lot of these people, because a lot of people on YouTube and places make fun of a lot of the same people's videos, because there are a handful of, well, there's many handfuls of really crazy people, especially in the queer world, where it's very fun to make fun of them and dissect what's going on with them. But a lot of it is like, these people are all autistic, aren't they? They're spectrum, socially, whatever you want to call it. I always like socially R-worded. That's kind of my favorite way to put this, because it's like when I was a kid, when I was a kid, we were all just crazy, now everyone's got this disorder or that. And when I was a kid, it was like, there were kids who were different and whatever. And then one day, like, we started calling everything autism. Yeah, we canceled the Asperger thing. So then we just started calling everything autistic. Everything, like any of these people who are socially special needs, socially differently abled, socially challenged. There's a lot of different kinds of, people who are walking on their toes. There's people who just, you try to be nice to them, but you're one of the only people who is. And so then they start messaging you like 100 times in a row about a lot of different stuff, and they're not even saying what they're talking about, and you're like, I know. They're very opinionated. I'm talking about a particular guy, but there's like different kinds. One of my brothers was very socially challenged and just would, grow out mutton chops, and then he would walk around with a trench coat and shorts on when it was cold. Like, he wanted to wear shorts and a trench coat, and he would have an old garden hoe and use that as a walking stick. Why he needed a walking stick in our neighborhood, I don't know. He was very socially, it was very like, you can't fire me, I quit. And so he was very like, I'm a gross, weird person forward, so that it was very clear that I'm not trying to get anyone to like me. That was kind of the, there's a lot of different kinds of socially challenged people out there. And I've for a long time, sometimes in high school, I wanted to make a documentary about like all the different types that there are, because I'm kind of tired of everyone just calling them autistic at this point. But let's just say it. These people are socially autistic. How about that? Most of these people, there's something, and some of them call themselves autistic. Some of them call themselves autistic, ADHD, PTSD, blah, 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 blah. But some don't. But there is a lot of social autism going on in this kind of stuff. And I don't think I found anybody who's nipple free for gender reasons who isn't socially autistic. As they all seem a little nutso, socially nutso to me. So I think what we really should call this no nipple surgery, because plenty of trans dudes getting top surgery, having, masculinized nipples, looking great. Some do get fucked up nipples, have to get multiple surgeries, or just kind of have weird ones and deal with, there's all kinds of stuff going on. But there's tons of trans dudes, really just trying to go for like a normal masculine chest. But these people who are going nipple free or getting heart-shaped nipples or anything bespoke nipple-wise, I think we should just go ahead and call that autism confirmation surgery. It's not gender confirmation. Because you can say like, oh, it's because I'm non-binary and I want to be super weird about it.
Another reason is that I'm non-binary and I don't want to look like a man or a woman, so I didn't want my chest post-op to look like the chest of a cisgender man.
Which, hey, at least somebody's doing it. Because I kept saying for a long time, how come all these non-binary people aren't, doing wacky things?
It's curious to me that so many people are cutting their boobs off now. Like I get it if you're a trans dude, that makes sense. But a lot of non-binary people are cutting their boobs off. A lot of they-thems are doing it. I've even seen some she-theys getting rid of them. And to me, I'm like, well, if everybody is so non-binary, how come no one's cutting one boob off, say? How come none of the non-binary dudes ever get boobs added on? You never see that. It's hard to take these people seriously. Like, when I see Demi Lovato give one boob to Sam Smith, then I'm on board. And then I want to see them, and then I want them to make a new music video together where they hug. That'll be a beautiful non-binary moment.
But non-binary is also not like, it's a choice. It's a choice of how to frame yourself. It's a choice that in our weird world of the oppression hierarchy and what that can do for you, what can it do to you if you're on the wrong part of it, especially in these people's circles, like, it's a choice to frame yourself as non-binary because you see all kinds of people doing it. I mean, easily I could identify as non-binary and people would be like, oh yeah, you're like a medium person. You're kind of in between, but I don't do it because I'm not that autistic. So I don't want to be lumped in with those people. And I also don't necessarily believe that that's a good way. I think it's also cool to just be like, yeah, I'm like a woman or whatever, and this is one way a woman or whatever can be. Like, so we use the word woman in a lot of different ways at different times, by the way. People want to act like it's so, like, we use words fluidly and loosely and sort of poetically as humans, especially English speakers. I don't know, and Chinese speak, probably most languages are pretty poetic about the way that we talk about things. So when you say woman, oh, that's a whole nother, you know what? Let's save the what is a woman question for maybe the next video. I don't want to get too far off of this. Look, these people are socially autistic, and the best thing that you can do is enjoy making fun of them. What else are we supposed to do? But also, don't take it too seriously. There's gonna be a handful of weirdos doing shit like this. It's kind of fun. Hopefully it's not your kid. Try your best to get your kid healthy food and water and not do weird shit when you're pregnant, and maybe spread out those vaccines. I don't know. I'm not trying to have kids. I think my nieces and nephew are doing well. So, best of luck to you out there if you're just trying to make sure your kid doesn't become a gender cultist. Hopefully this shit will also kind of fade. But I think the best bet to get it to fade is also if we're all starting to be more honest and upfront and open to these people. Because we've been doing some of these autistic, trans, non-binary people, queer people harm for a while because we all, have been silent. We've all been kind of letting the emperor pretend to be wearing clothes about a lot of this. And of course, there's a lot of people who just don't know much about this stuff, and they're like just trying to be on the right side of history, and they don't know. If you're not paying attention, then you just think, yeah, okay, whatever. This is the new civil rights. Do whatever. Here's your blank check. But those of us who are paying attention, and for good reasons, because you could really become a social pariah, lose your job, experience all kinds of, cancellation type things if you did speak out. But now it's becoming safer to speak out. More people are doing it. So let's all just, I'm Spartacus this, and just call a spade and go, look, you guys are autistic, and that's fine. But it's not that you really are fey fi fo fum self. It's not that you really your true person is no nipple, whatever. It's not that the community needs to pay for it. You know, let's just start being reasonable about this stuff. You can still be nice, you can be kind, you can try your best to respect reasonable pronoun demands, or, you know, but, and again, we'll talk about that on a different day. We can't get it into any more weeds about that. And if you have thoughts on this stuff with the pronouns or what is a woman, you know, you can feel free to say something below in the comments, because, you know, maybe I'll think about that and when I'm formulating what I want to say about all these things. I think I really already know what I want to say about a lot of stuff. I've been keeping my lid shut. My mouth. Because your lid's I've been keeping my lid open and my mouth shut for many years now. Just you know, doing a lot of observing, doing a lot of talking to people in person and private. Some increasing podcasts that I know are to friendly audiences and things, but I have been, you know, not wanting to alienate people who are going to be weirded out by me having non-orthodox opinions. And I think it's time for us all to be more honest. I think we can be funny and compassionate at the same time and speak the truth. I think truth, humor, compassion, I think we can do that. I think I can do that.
Happy Halloween. I have ghost nipples.
Wow, you know, here's I don't know if they're telling the little trans kids this information about the possible side effects that you can get of the surgery, but here's another one, kids. If you get your boobs removed and you go no nipples, you might have phantom nipples. They might be really itchy. I wonder if that stays forever. I also, you know, because there are treatments for the phantom limb people where like they're saying, where you can do a mirror thing and kind of get your brains over time to realize that your arm's not there anymore, so it doesn't hurt. What I'm also really curious to know whether, like, for the people who have their nipples grafted back on, do any of them experience a phantom nipple syndrome? Like, where they, especially because for this person it was like the nipple was where they used to be, it sounds like. So if you have a new nipple that's somewhere else, would you still potentially experience the itchiness right there, or would it not happen because your nipple is still somewhere else? I don't know. So if you know anything about that in the comments, then please do tell me if you've heard anything about people with the nipples reattached, having phantom nipple itches or pain or anything like that. Oh, and if you don't opt to have the nipples, you might be doing it because you want to have an elaborate chest tattoo piece and you don't want the nipples to be a part of that. I think that's pretty cool, potentially, if it's done well. Like anything with tattoos, a lot of y'all have really bad taste and or hire people who are bad artists. But if you do it cool, I think that could be cool. Although I think it can also be really cool to have the nipples and the chest piece. But some people are doing it where they are getting tattoos of the nipples instead of physical nipples, which that one I can kind of see that, because then, just like people might do their eyebrows tattooed, because then you can have them placed exactly where you want them to be. You can look exactly how you want them to look. You can still have your flat shit going on, but it'll kind of look from a little bit, from some distance away. They'll look like real nipples. I think that's cool. Especially, I would do that and then also have some chest tattoo. I think that could be cool. So that's an option, and that does make sense. It's cheaper, and you don't have to worry about the grafting not taking. You don't have to worry about the surgeon not being good at his job and fucking up your nipple placement. And you don't have to worry about whether your tissue from your nipple areola situation is the right stuff for what you want it to look like. And now let's just end on something really fun that I found online when I was doing a little bit of research for this video. Before you enjoy that, I do have to say, please like, comment, subscribe, share it with a friend. I want to start making YouTube videos, and this does take a lot of time and effort, but I am enjoying the hell out of this already. So if you want to help me, please just do a little like, comment, subscribe down there. Let's get to 500 subscribers with this video. Don't make me say that for more than one video. It would be, okay. All right, enjoy.
If one day you woke up and your nipples were completely... Sorry.
What?
I don't know where this is going. What if one day you woke up and your nipples were completely gone, like no scars or anything, just flat skin, and then once you leave your room, you find out your dad died last night, and several days later you found out that for your entire life, he had been sneaking into your room while you slept and sucking on your chest to make 2 gigantic hickeys where your nipples should have been because you were born without them, not for any sexual reason, just so you would fit in. What the fuck?